Hello everyone, today is Money Mindset Monday, and what a fantastic topic that we're covering today. We've got about a week until Easter, so just focusing on the last of the things to be sorted out before having a short change in focus for a few days. And what we're actually covering today is one of my favorite topics because I think it's so fundamental, so important that we make sure that I guess we're all in it for the right reasons. So the topic that I'm focusing on today is brought to my attention more recently in some more recent research findings in financial psychology. So I'm part of an executive circle for the Financial Psychology Institute, and Brad and Ted Clontz, who I think are absolutely amazing, and I believe they'll one day be known as the fathers of financial psychology. They have brought to my attention a research study which has some results that fly against some of the findings that we've had in financial psychology to this point, and it is a little against what we believed to be true generally in our society about money and happiness. So what has been found is, first of all, they have had a new study on the link between income and happiness, and they changed some of the methodology. So some of the previous studies into income levels and happiness had some limitations around how they came to their results and how they implemented the studies. So some of those limitations were things like, can you tell me, were you happy yesterday? Yes or no? So some issues with that is, one, there's a yes or no situation, just complete dichotomy, no room for any grey areas. It relied upon a person reflecting on their day yesterday and how well they could remember that. So that ignored this negativity bias that the majority of us are afflicted with. And it also pooled income levels. So any income level above 75,000, they were just lumped in together. So the previous studies came to the conclusion that happiness would increase with income increases to the point of about $75,000. And 75,000 is around, for Americans, around the average income level for when the study was done. So it was assuming that, yes, your happiness would increase as your level of income increased until you got to around the average income levels, and then it would taper off and plateau, and then additional increases in income would only result in marginal increases in happiness. So what we found through the study, Matthew A. Killingsworth study actually referred to the name of it was above, happiness does increase above 75,000. I'll put a link in the comments below. But so the study found that there was a linear increase in happiness as income increased. So it didn't plateau at all. It just continued on an upward trend. Happiness increased, income increased, and that was the case above 75,000. As income increased, so too did happiness. So when you think this through, this actually has some really big ramifications. There were some changes in how the study was conducted. They used smartphones, so they would send messages to people and get the information in real time. They used multiple ways of asking around about life satisfaction. They also used scaling, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you feeling right now? So there were improvements in how they went about testing the question, and considered multiple areas, and they also didn't pool above 75,000. They didn't just lump in some person who's earning 2 million with the person who's earning 75,000. They literally graded and scaled it. So this is really, really fascinating. I think, first of all, it might help to reduce some of the stigma that I think does happen when people are pursuing wealth, because it's not necessarily about greed. It's not necessarily about I'm in it for me and to hell with everybody else. So it's okay to pursue more wealth. In fact, we now have support that is going to improve your happiness. And I would argue that if you are a happier person and your well-being increases, then so too will that flow and effect occur for those people that you come into contact with. I have a lot of different thoughts about this, and every area could probably result in another study and another rabbit warren to go and explore. And this is why I'm so happy to have comments around this. But one thing that I think needs, well, first let's say this is an aggregated study. So this is a whole lot of people all put in together. We're all different and we all have different needs. We all have different impacts. We all have different reactions to having more money, and there could be different factors at play. Money, happiness, and well-being. I actually think there is a difference between happiness and well-being. I'm all for improving your happiness and your wealth. Absolutely. It's probably about having a balanced approach. Happiness is often seen, when you actually break it down, which I don't usually do, but if we're going to be specific when we break it down, happiness really is an emotion that is rather fleeting and difficult to grasp. And there's certainly an argument that the more you pursue happiness itself, the less happy you will be, because you're looking at why you're not happy. I'd say well-being is more about your moment-to-moment fulfillment and your acceptance of the situation, your connection, your reasons, your values, connecting with your values. All of those sorts of things are going to have a greater impact on your actual well-being. So it sounds a little bit like semantics, and so I usually sort of just go with the word happiness, but to be specific, there is a difference, and I think we need to think about how we can support well-being and hold the momentary happiness a little less tightly. So ways that you can use money to enhance well-being, well, that really encompasses different areas of your life that are important to you. So it's multiple life domains. So, for example, if you have, if family is really important to you, then it's worth thinking about, well, how can I use my money to support my family? You need to be thinking about, okay, well, if all I ever do is try to pursue a healthy relationship with my family by giving them money, that's probably going to be counterproductive, because what you're trying to do is essentially get that connection through money, which you actually, money can't get you connection. It can support it. So say, for example, if you've got family members who might live an hour away and it costs money to travel to see your family, I'm not talking about the impact of COVID or other factors here, just a straight out example where it costs you money to go and see your family, then absolutely it makes sense that spending money on that travel is a way of supporting your well-being and enhancing your relationship with your family. So that is the focus that I tend to take, as opposed to building wealth just for the sake of it. And I think we also need to consider the multiple life domains and how each of them will have an impact on each other, and how one area might be more important to us, and so you want to be really using money to support that, and finding ways that you can, let me say, have a balanced approach with what's most important to you. So another interesting fact that, or consideration that comes to mind, is also about the law of diminishing returns. So it's an economic idea which I'll explain, but it's quite useful in thinking about how you can use money to enhance your well-being. So the law of diminishing returns works like this. Yesterday I had a perfect example in my life, and I had a mud cake. I had a piece of chocolate mud cake. It's not something that I eat a lot of. So sat down with my spoon, had one bite, and I was actually surprised because I felt like having something sweet, and I thought it was probably going to be too sweet, but the first bite was really tasty. I was thinking, this is quite nice. I'm happy with my decision to have this chocolate cake. So then I had another one, quite nice, and another, and the more I had, the less I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first bite I had, and that I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was. And then I actually got about 3/4 of the way through the piece of cake, and I was thinking, I think maybe I've had enough sugar. Now it does feel a little much. I feel I've had enough, and I knew if I kept eating it, I wouldn't enjoy it at all. I didn't want any more, and so I didn't have any more. The law of diminishing returns is such that the more you have, usually in economics they're talking about money or resources, but the more you have of each incremental portion, then the less personal enjoyment you will get from each additional level. This was generally related to money. And this is sort of helped to explain how above a certain level of income, people didn't get quite as much additional enjoyment. Latest research suggests that's not true. It just goes up in a linear fashion. Okay. I wonder though about people who really are struggling, because people who are struggling to have a house over their head, maybe they are homeless, struggling to get enough food to eat regularly, and find a place to sleep. You can see how, say, $100 to them would have a far bigger impact on their well-being and ability to find happiness in the moment than $100 to somebody who's already on, say, $100,000. The happiness increase would be far greater for somebody who's already struggling. So I think that's really interesting. Also, the other aspect to consider also is that the study touches on control over one's life, and people generally who are happier also felt they had more control over their life. So this is another fascinating area, and I'm thinking it makes sense. Having more money means you have more options. If you need to pay for healthcare, and you have the money to get in sooner, let's say, because unfortunately this is the economic reality we live in. You can pay to go in sooner and be treated sooner by the best surgeon. That's going to mean that you feel you have more control over your life as opposed to somebody who doesn't have that money and resources. So there seems to be, I imagine it would be understandable that you would feel like you have more control. I'm also wondering, is it a chicken and egg scenario to some extent? Are people who have a belief that they have more control over their life more likely to be earning more money? I don't know. But I'd love to hear. I'd love to find out. The other idea is relative deprivation. So that's about, there was another study done, and I remember these studies, but I don't remember who did them. So if anybody knows, add in the comments. If you don't know, look, all due respect and credit to the people who did it. Thank you. The study results found that, so they asked people, so would you rather have an income level which is less but still twice what your friends are earning, or would you rather have an income level the same even if it's twice the other option? And most people wanted to be in the situation where they're earning twice as much, the 100,000, even if it meant they're earning half of what they would earn in the other scenario. So what this means is we all kind of want to be on a similar sort of level. And when we're in a position of relative deprivation, those around us are earning more and have more, we are far less likely to be happy and be satisfied with what we have. So that's what I was getting at. All right, so that's it for today. I wish you all the very best. I'm happy to discuss further, see what you think, and let's keep this conversation going and come back to it. Bye for now.